Hello everybody, it is Ginell Cooper, and today I am here to teach you how to do something fun that we've kind of already done, but we're just going to do a new spin on it. This is the twisted neck wrap. This is one of my original twisted neck wraps that I did in a video it's like 3 years ago, and it's still one of my top videos. People love it because it's so easy. It takes one skein of yarn. It is it's just an easy project. They make fantastic gifts. You need one for like every outfit, and in that video I think I did 5 or 6 of them so that you could see different ways to do it. It's a really fun and easy process, but we're going to change it a little bit, and we're going to make it wider and longer, and we're going to make it a twisted shoulder wrap. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, I could do that myself. I could just go back and watch the original video and make it wider, and then I can make it taller. And absolutely, yes, you can. In fact, you could stop right now and go do that. Just watch what I did on the original video. We're gonna level it up a little bit though, and we're gonna do it instead with some planned pooling. So planned pooling shoulder wrap as opposed to a neck wrap. This is a neck wrap that I did in the planned pooling. I just want to make sure I could do it because doing planned pooling in the round, there's 2 different ways to do it, and I wanted to make sure I could do both ways. So this is the first way that I did it, and this makes kind of a zigzag pattern. We could just make it a stripe, so if you wanted to do Christmas, you could do like a stripe, candy cane or something. I decided to go with kind of a zigzag. You could make your zigzag even tighter if you wanted to. So I'm going to show you how to do that, but also I'm going to show you how to do the traditional in the round. I don't know if you can see that, but this is sort of that plaid Argyle look on there, and I'm going to show you how to do both. This yarn is a little bit on the subtle side. This is what's the name of this? This is Loops and Threads, and the color is Shimmer Multi. So that one pools. That's going to go on my website on the master list. So I'm creating a master list. You can go and see it if you want to figure out what yarns I already know you can pool with. And there's usually, if I have it, I'll give you like a photo of what it looks like pooled so that you can tell that you can do it that way. And it is on my website at janellscrochettherapy.com. So check that out. I'm going to add this to that list, but I have 2 new yarns that we're going to do it with. So instead of doing it with something super subtle like this, we're going to do it in something that has a little bit more color variation. And I'm going to do 2 different colors for you because we're going to do one. I haven't figured out which one's which yet. We're going to do one in the zigzag, probably this one because this is pretty close to this color, so I already have that. We're going to do one in sort of a zigzag pattern, and then we're going to do one in the traditional sort of Argyle pattern. So this is this seems a little more wintry to me, or spring. This one seems a little more fall, and for me plaid is fall, so I think I'm going to go with the Argyle on this color, and we're going to do the stripes on this color because this looks a little more, it could be candy cane like or spring like. So hopefully these colors are going to pool. I'm pretty sure they are. I've seen other people do Bundle of Love and have them come out nicely. But one of the great things about doing this for me is that all of my videos are a journey. If you've been watching my videos, you know that that's kind of just how I operate. I get an idea in my head, I think I can do it, so I just go for it. But usually what that means is that we will have stumbling along the way, and I will redo stuff, and I will go through a process, and you'll get to see the whole creative process from beginning to end. This one, I've done twisted neck wraps before, and I've done one in color pooling before, so I don't think I'm going to struggle too much, except that I've never pooled with this yarn, so that might be difficult, might be different. So let's give that a shot and see how it turns out. You are going to want your yarn. Like I said, this is Bundle of Love Potpourri, Bundle of Love Sweater Weather. I called that. So we're going to do those 2. The reason I picked these ones is because this is going to need to be much bigger than a neck wrap. It's going to need to be taller, and if it's tall enough, we can maybe even use it like a hood. We'll see. It's going to need to be wider to go around your shoulders. So I still wanted to see if I could do it with 1 skein, but just a very large skein. So most skeins are about 200 yards. This one is 688. So hopefully we'll be able to do one whole twisted hooded shoulder wrap with 1 skein. This one asks for, it recommends a J hook. Usually I just go with what they recommend, but if I was going to change the hook size, I might go up a little more just to make it a little softer. But I think this should be it's pretty soft and pliable already because of the holes in it. So, so let's see what happens with that. And you're also going to need a measuring tape just for a moment, just to measure around your shoulders and see how wide you want it to go. And then we're going to use a couple, probably some stitch markers are always good to have on hand, especially when you're trying a new skill in the round, because sometimes it's hard to tell where that last stitch is. And then a needle to weave your ends in. And scissors, of course. That should be it. That should be all you need. So go ahead and gather up your materials and let's get going. Okay, I've already changed the journey on you a little bit. I realized before that one of the things that was not good in our original neck wrap is the center line on it. Because I did it with a chain before and I'm gonna do it again you know how much I don't like chaining, but this center line is not very movable. So what you end up with is, instead of it being stretchy all over, it has like a stopping point right here. The rest of this stretches really well, but this has a stopping point. We don't want that because we want it to stretch over the shoulders. Knowing that, what I want you to do is I want you to grab a hook that's bigger. It can be 2 sizes bigger, 1 size bigger, whatever. We're gonna do a really, really loose chain so that we still have that a little bit of rigidness, but not so much that it doesn't stretch at all, because you do want to be able to stretch that. So going through this colors, if you have never color pooled before, I highly recommend that you go and check out my my first color pooling video, which is it was like, I don't remember what it was called. I think it's like super easy color pooling or something like that. Here's what the cover of it looks like, so you can find it pretty easily. It's like, I think like the 5th or 6th most popular video on my channel, so if you sort them by popularity, you'll see it. It is gives you all the basics of how to color pool, but I've done so many videos since then about color pooling, and so another one to check out would be, can you color pool with it? And it shows you how to just pick some random yarn. You don't have to grab one off the list. You can just pick any variegated yarn and figure out if you can color pool with it. So what I did was I kind of checked mine out, and what you want to do is you're looking for a repeating pattern that goes over and over and over again. Most machine-made yarn is going to be a repeating pattern, right? If it's hand-dyed, that's different, you know, because those are never going to be perfect. But even machine-made yarn is not going to be perfect. So see, I already found this is the center color of the pattern, and look at what happens. See how the yellow and the gray aren't perfect there? So they're off by a little bit. So what we're going to do is ignore that, because I know that if I bring these up, the problem is not with these colors, it's with this one here. So that one's off a little bit. So all you can do, you can fix that by adjusting it, but for the most part, the repeating pattern is there. You only really need the chain to be a little bit longer than how wide you want it to be. So I've already measured my shoulders, and for me, it's about 42 inches around my shoulders. But the thing is you're dealing with a pattern here. So you can't, it's not like what you're just doing like regular single crochets or double crochets where you can stop whenever you feel like it. You have to get to the end of the pattern. So let's see how long the pattern is and see if we can fit that into that 42 inches. And we could probably get it like a little bit smaller or slightly bit bigger, but let's just see how it turns out. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start chaining until it's about as wide as I want it to be, which is about 42 inches. And then we're gonna start with the color that is, you know, where we wanna start, which for me is probably gonna be like halfway through that, because that's the mirror image. Probably about halfway through that gray right there. And then we'll start going back and forth and doing our actual pattern. But we're gonna connect them. Instead of doing it just back and forth like normal, we're gonna connect them on each end, and that's what's gonna make it round. That's for the Argyle. For the stripes, that's gonna be a little different. We're gonna do that differently. But this is the Argyle first, so let's go ahead. You can just start your chain anywhere you want. Just do it really loosely so that it stretches. I highly recommend going and watching. If you've never ever watched anybody color pool before and you have no idea what I'm doing, If you just want to make the shoulder wrap, you can totally do that by going to the original video for the neck wrap, and just make it wider and then just go as long as you want. And it's going to look super pretty. Any color changing yarn is going to look really pretty with that. You don't have to color pool. If you do want to do the color pooling, but you've never done color pooling before, definitely go to my original couple of videos that I did for color pooling. It explains a lot. I'm going to try and explain a little bit here, but I don't want to get too in depth, otherwise this video is going to be super long. So let's just go ahead and chain pretty loosely so that it stretches. And you're just going to chain until it's about, I'm going to say, since we're going for 42 inches, I'm going to say let's just chain until it's like 43, because you can always undo the chain where you want it to be. Just in case, maybe 44, just in case the pattern goes longer than we want it to. Also, the great thing about chaining is that you can see the color changes in a shorter space than spread out. It makes it easier to understand where the color changes are. See, that's the middle. So if you look at the color change, there's two middles, right? There's the middle. This is light gray, cream, light gray. That's a mirror right there. Or your mirror can be the dark gray and the goldenrod. So either way, whatever you like on that. So that's about 44 loose inches there. So and then just don't, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, because we can undo this chain back to where we need it to be. So that's just kind of a rough estimate of where we're at. And I happen to be right where I want the color change to happen. So, I mean, you may have chosen here, and you can totally do that if you want to. And if you want it to be wider, you can go to here, and that gives you that much more space, wherever you'd like. You can actually have it be repeating. Can you have it be repeating? Not really. It's better to go from the middle. Since it's a mirror image, it's better to go from the middle on these colors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my color pooling, but you're not going to see the color pooling happen until like the second or probably the third row, right? So this is just me going off of experience and what I know from other projects I've done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1, 2 actually, because that's where the center of the color, it was 7 chains across for each color. So the center is the 4th one. So I'm going to chain 2. 3rd chain from the hook, you did a half double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do you're going to skip 1 and do a half double crochet in the next chain. Okay, so the gap there isn't quite so big. We want it to be lacy, but not too big. Okay, and then skip 1 and then half double crochet into the next one. And you can do these pretty loosely. We will tighten up as we get further up, but you know, just because you want that center line to be a little more movable. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that all the way across. Try and keep your tension pretty even, just so that you know, when you're trying to match the colors up in the future, you have sort of an even tension to work off of. But you're going to be adjusting as you go the whole time. It looks like you're going to get, oh, except for that goldenrod, it looks like you're going to maybe get 2 stitches out of each color. These are just little clues, things to keep in mind as you're setting up. Okay, so keep going until you get to the end. How do I say this? Keep going until you get to about the length that you want it to be. For me, it's going to be 42 inches. And then we'll see where we're at color-wise, and we'll figure out if we need to add or subtract in order to get to the spot where I want to be, or the spot where you want to be on this color change. Okay, you guys are not going to believe this. I don't believe it, but I went out to about where I thought it was going to be, which is almost the end of where I chained to, and it's 42 inches. What in the world? Sometimes you just get lucky, but some of it is just from like knowing about how much space you're going to have, and that's just from practice. So if you want to give yourself some extra chain just in case, that's always good, because we can always undo this back to where we want it to be. So I would highly recommend that. So we're right at 42 inches. I wrapped it around my shoulder. It seems like it's going to fit pretty well. This little tail right here, you could go ahead and take it back right now and have that be a nice clean edge, or you can leave it because it'll tell you where the bottom is. So one of the things that confuses people on my twisted neck wrap from before is that when you connect the two pieces together, sometimes people had a hard time knowing what was the top and what was the bottom. And in order for it to twist, you have to twist it, but it tends to kind of twist on its own. When I do it this way, it doesn't. So so just kind of keep that in mind. But this is a good way to know where the bottom of that twist is, where the bottom of the row actually is. Just leave that little tail there for now, and we can always come back and fix it later. So I would do that. This is straight. Just kind of lay it out so it's nice and straight. And then what you're going to do is, instead of connecting it to where you should connect it to, which is the top of that row, we're going to connect it to the bottom of the row. Okay, so go ahead and pull this aside. Go to the top, to the bottom part of that chain, and you're going to go ahead and connect that. Let's do this again, only do it in the right direction here. So we're going this way. Make sure it's not twisted. Bring it over here, and then you're going to go ahead and twist it. And then you're going to go in. You can kind of tell because where you went into the chain, we're not going to be going into the chain anymore. We're going to go into the hole made in between the stitches. So it's going to be easy to tell where the chain is, because that's, you know, the one that we actually crocheted into. So put that one on top instead of the bottom where you would normally put it. Have on this side, have it that part, the chaining on the bottom. On this side, have the chaining on the top. And then you're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into this to connect it. Okay, so now that you're connected here, so you've got this is what normally would be on the top is now on the bottom, but over here the top is on the top, okay, and this is the bottom. We can mark it if you want to. Right now you have this as a marker. We are eventually going to turn and go back the way we came in order to get that zigzag effect that not zigzag, but the Argyle effect that you need the back and forth for to make it work. But for right now, we've already done one side. We need to continue and do the other side of this piece, because it's got two halves to it, right? Because we build one side, and then it builds the other side, and then it builds this side, and then it builds the other side, kind of like a figure eight. So we're going to continue doing that right now until we get this other part done, and then we're going to backtrack. So go ahead and chain one, and then do your half double crochet in the bottom part of that chain that we just went across. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So this is the top, this is twisted, so this is now the bottom. And then continue doing that until we get all the way back to the beginning of here. So you're going to go all the way around, and then you're going to have two tops basically. You're going to end up on the bottom part of this. Trust me, it works out. Okay, so we've gone all the way around both sides. And this is where the twist happens here. You would normally go into here, do your, pretend like that's not there, and do your chain, and then do your half double right here in this hole, and then you would continue going onward. And then there's going to be this weird gap right here. Don't worry, we're going to fix that later, okay? But then that's going to create this twist, and then you're just going to keep going in a figure eight. I'll show you how to do that with the pink one. But for this one, what we really want to do is we want to grab onto that, and we want to turn it and go back the way we came. So as long as the twist is there and we're connected, and you've got both sides done, then you're going to turn and go back. You want it to match the row below it, but you want the color change to happen one space earlier. Okay, so it's kind of like moss stitch. You're going to go straight down, but you want that gray right there to be here instead of here. If it was here, then we're making the stripes. Okay, or we can make the zigzag, which makes it go, you can do it out that way. We'll talk about that in the next one. But for here, what you want it to do, and this is for the Argyle version, you want it to change colors one earlier than it did the row directly below it. So let's see if that works out. It kind of looks like it's going to. We might have to adjust our tension a little bit to make it work. Okay. Okay, so it's going to, and then the next one should be cream, and we're still kind of in the gray. So you might want to make it just a little bit bigger movements so that you it's looser, and then you travel across that gray a little faster. Once you have it set up, it's a little easier to maintain. So cream is here. We're going to do the cream here. Okay, so we have another cream. And then you should be switching half cream, half gray, which is kind of what that is. Yay us. If you can get in there, okay. So you want them to kind of match each other. Okay, full gray. And then full yellow. See how that's right there? And then we're going to do kind of a yellowy gray, which we've already switched to gray totally, so we might want to do this a little bit tighter. And you saw earlier that that gold is not always consistent in its length, so you may have to do some adjusting once in a while. Okay, this one we want it to be sort of mostly gold with a little tinge of gray in it. That'll do for me. And then the next one should be full gray, full dark gray. Okay, next one should be full dark gray. Okay, next one should be gold. Okay, so keep doing that until you get back to this twist. And then we're going to figure out what we're doing next. You could actually, at this moment, you could mark, take a stitch marker and mark. We should come out over here. When you get to this point, I think we don't want to, I don't think we want to double back until we get to back to this point. So that means you have to go all the way around this, all the way around the bottom, and then back up here. So let's mark where we did that, where we doubled back, and then that should be where we double back again, which is right. We hooked in, where did we hook in? Right about there, I think. Okay, hopefully. That's about right. We'll figure it out when we get there. And then once we get there and once we make that turn, we'll just always mark it so we know exactly where we want to make that turn in the future. So keep going until you get all the way across this part and this part. So you're going to make it wider on both sides. And then we will do our twist again. Okay, so we're halfway around. See how this is on the bottom? We don't want to make the turn until this is back on the top, okay? But I did notice that if you go in this part right here, which is where you would think you should go, we end up with less yarn than we are supposed to have, because watch this. Once we make the leap over to this one, we are no longer color pooling, or the pool is off. It might be helpful if I do it right. Hold on, is it? You could just tighten it. Okay, so if you just tighten your tension a little bit, it should actually, let's see if it works out. Or you could skip it. Yellow, yellow. Okay, cool. So that might be a little funky right there. Don't worry, we're gonna fix it. but see how the pooling is still happening, the yellow's over there. Whatever you have to do to adjust your tension to make that work, that's what you want to do. So keep going. We're on the lower half now of it. And now it's going to be harder to tell that there's a twist in it, but you'll see it over there. Like you'll find a twist somewhere in that ring. As long as there's a twist in it, you're good to go. Okay, so keep going, do the lower half, which is now the upper half because it's moved. That's what the magic of the twisted neck wrap, now the twisted shoulder wrap. And keep making sure that pooling is happening. And then we'll when we get to this part, we'll go ahead and double back and go the other direction. Okay, so we've gone all the way around. Everything has pooled the whole way. We're looking good. Now we just have to make sure it continues to pool, and we're about to turn and go back the way we came, okay? So in order to do that, you make sure it's on the right side, which you wanna make sure your pin is on top. And then what we have to do is we kind of have to keep in mind, like technically this is a spot here. Make sure that it kind of color pools with what's going on over here. Okay, and then this is where I marked it of where it continued, but I was kind of guessing. So we're gonna try and see if this works correctly. Oops, probably be better if I took that out. Okay, so what we want to do is when we turn it, I think what I did before is I connected it to where the next one was going to be, and then I turned it. And then when we turn it, you want to make sure that it's a full yellow, just like this one, and then goes into the gray. So I'm not going to chain up one because that'll mess up our spacing, our numbers. We're going to call that connection that I just did as your chain, and we're just going to go straight into the double crochet or the half double crochet right here. But that's going to make this stitch really hard to see when we come back around and need to connect it next time, so we're going to mark that stitch, so just keep that in mind. And then you're going to chain, and then you want it to be full gray, and it's full gray. So it looks like it's going to work. Just to make sure, let's go ahead and mark that before we lose it. It's this little indentation right here where we turned, we connected here, and then we turned and went back. This is where we're going to connect when we come back around. Okay, so then let's make sure that we chain one and make sure that it's still color pooling. You always want it to change the one before where it does the one straight down below it. I hope you can understand my my weird technology or my weird terminologies. So this one's cream. You want this one to be cream, right? And it looks like it's going to be. Okay, chain. This one's cream, or this one's cream, this one's cream. So then gray and gray. Chain. Gray slightly turning to yellow. It looks like it's gonna do it. Okay, and then full yellow. Okay, so we've got it. It's pooling now. So now all you need to do is when you come to this little stitch right here, we're gonna do one more row so I can show you how to do it. And then and I'll show you how to connect here and then go back the way you came, because that to me is the hardest part. This gap right here happens even in the original twisted neck wrap, and we're going to use this right here to connect it so there's no gap right there. So just keep that in mind. Don't let that freak you out. The rest of it should be pretty smooth. And then you're not going to actually see the pattern until this thing gets pretty big. So, but just trust that as long as it's pooling, it's going to do what it's the magic sorcery that it's supposed to do. Okay, we're back at the pin. Once you get this settled, it's going to be super easy. You're just going to basically go back and forth, but this is, you just want to make sure you're going into the right one. So this is where we want to connect the little the little slip stitch to connect it. I believe that this is where the last one goes, and it's all kind of tight right here, so you kind of have to feel it out to make sure. The goal is we're going to turn it and we're going to match this stitch right here. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we're going to go into this one. So it's between the 2 stitches there. Oops. If I can get a hold of it. Okay, and then we're not gonna chain because we're gonna slip stitch into this, and that's the chain. That's what we're gonna call the chain. Okay, so there's your chain. Then we're gonna turn, and you're not gonna chain again, although you could if you need to, like if you need to adjust your tension somehow, because it looks like this is gonna be a little too yellow. So you can chain right there to try and get it a little bit closer to the gray. And then, so that's a little iffy. It kind of matches. I think it'll work. So go ahead and continue on, make sure that it stays working. Nope, that needs to be cream. So we need to adjust our tension before we make that change. So we just need to make our movements a little bit bigger so that we can travel across that yarn a little faster. Okay, chain 1, go into this one right here. I believe, yeah, that's it right there. Or here, I guess, but I think that'll just make that hole bigger, and we actually want to fix that hole. So we're going to go into this one right here, pull up high, and then we're going to go into the hole that we had marked before. Pull it up. We've traveled across that yellow a little more now, so I don't think I need to chain again. And we are going to, I might have traveled a little too far. There. Okay. Might have been a little too much. Gray. And then cream. Okay, we're back on track. Okay, so let's go back and mark where we did that, because I mean, you're gonna have a really hard time seeing that coming back around. So mark where you made that change. Okay, so the hook is on top. Now we're gonna go ahead and continue on. And every time you get back to the hook that's on top, you just wanna make that connection right there, that little slip stitch, turn it and go back the way you came, okay? But that's only when you're up right up to the stitch marker. And I'm just gonna continue on, and then you're gonna see the whole thing come to life. Hopefully, magically, it's all gonna come to life. Okay, it's been a few days and I'm back. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about the journey of how I got to this point. And I'm going to show you one important thing that I think will make it all much more easy and understandable for you. And then maybe you may want to make some of those changes as well. First of all, 42 inches ended up to be just a little bit too narrow for me, because I didn't want it to stretch across my shoulders. I wanted it to drape across my shoulders. So I undid it, and then I did it to 48 inches in length, which is about 24 inches in width. When it's stretched out, when it gets kind of bunched up, but when it's stretched to its actual width, it's about 24 inches. And that drapes a lot better. So that doesn't change any of what I told you before, other than the starting amount on the chain. Everything else you do exactly the same, except for this one thing. First, before I tell you this one thing, look at how this Argyle has worked out in the back. It's such a looser look than any other plan pooling I've done, because the stitches are just so big and loose and just kind of softer and drapier, but it still has that Argyle look in it that I think is just so cool. I'm very excited about it, actually. I haven't decided. It looks humongous, doesn't it? Like, sorry, I've got like, it's just everything in here. It looks just humongous compared to like what our normal neck wraps are. Here, I'm actually wearing the one that I did before it, but see how much smaller. This is what a normal twisted neck wrap, the size of a normal one, is about like this, right? And this is just huge in comparison, but it's not huge enough yet, because I just tried it on. I think I wanted to go about halfway down my back and then be kind of pulled up on top. This line right here is the center line, and at first I was like, I feel like I need to fix that. I'm not really sure how to fix it, honestly, other than maybe doing a single crochet instead of a half double, but if I do that, it'll mess up the Argyle on it. So I'm gonna kind of embrace having that center line there. And because what ends up happening, and this ends up being kind of across my shoulders, this ends up being draped around my neck, and then this goes down my back. So I think I actually like it. I think I'm gonna leave it that way. So just kind of things to keep in mind as you're doing it. Let me show you though this part. So when I left you on the video days ago, we've been in the process of, we sold our house and we signed the papers a couple days ago. And so now we are in the process of moving out of our house. We have a little less than a month before we're leaving, but there's still a lot to be done. So we've been working on that. So the days have just gone by like crazy, but obviously I've still been crocheting. This is whenever we're sitting in front of the TV at night, I'm like whipping it up, and this is just so fun and so easy, just like the twisted neck wrap. There's not a lot of thought in it, and for some reason, I don't know if I just picked really easy yarn, but the pattern is laying together really well. It's pooling easily, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. So this, just show you right here, we were talking earlier about how I did these parts. So the connection, as I got further along in this, I found that the connection is better if you do it in this particular way. So here's the little hole right there, right? What I was telling you to do in the past is kind of similar to what I'm going to tell you to do when we do it around in the round, but we keep going round circles. This having to go back and forth has, this is the first time I've ever done it this way on a twisted neck wrap. I've done it for the pumpkin, I've done it for a couple of other things, but this is my first time doing it for this. And I found that this is the way to do, see how there is a seam there, but you really can't see it. It just kind of blends in. It's like every other one, two pieces are together and then it's stretched out, and then it's together and then it's stretched out, together, stretched out. So you can see a seam there, but it's pretty hard to pick. You kind of have to know what you're looking for. So, and what I've done to make that happen is when you do your finish and you're coming up to the end of this row, you go, so if you look, you'll see that there is a space here, and then there is a space here, and then you're going to grab it right there. So you're going to do in the space right here, and then you're going to chain one. As soon as this color and this color, I'm trying to think if this is where I pull it together. Yeah, so you kind of want to look at what is below it and see how there's like these two here, and then there's a single, and then there's two kind of together, and then the next one's going to be a single. That is the chain up that happens right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over and grab this space. You are going to chain one before you do it, just like this is like a regular little square that you're making. You're going to go in here and grab this space right here, slip stitch to join it, chain up one. Okay, so see how there's the two together and then there's the one kind of by itself. We are going to make, there's the one kind of by itself, and now we're going to make the two together. Okay, so turn it. It's a lot of yarn now. And then you're going to go ahead and go into the same, not the space that you just joined to, but the one next to it, the one that you just created right there. Go straight into it. Okay. And then make sure that your pooling is going to continue, but look at how easily that pooling happens when you do it that way. It's just automatic. There's not a lot of adjusting going on. It just goes right into the pooling part. This yellow kind of is longer sometimes and shorter other times. So okay, so then cream, and just keep doing that. And then you just go back and forth until it is as long as you want it to be. And I honestly don't know how long it's going to be yet. That's going to be part of the journey. I'm just going to keep going until it looks good. So since we're done doing this one, we're not done, but I'm done showing you how to do this one. I will show you how to complete it and how to sew in your ends and everything when I get to the end of it. So we'll sew in the original ends there. But I've already started the next one, and I know I said that I was going to do these side by side. I just got kind of I was just having too much fun watching the colors happen on that one. So here is, on this one, I did exactly what I did on the other one. This one, the color changes seem easier for some reason. So I chained it out. until it was more than what I needed it to be, which was about 48 inches long. I ended up chaining it like 50 some odd inches long just to make sure that I had plenty extra, knowing full well that I have tons of yarn, right? And so I found just the center. You just find the pattern going on. You can tell by the chain. And this one goes like burgundy, white, lavender, white, pink, white, lavender, white, burgundy, white, lavender, white, and so forth, right? So I just picked one of them. It could have been any of them that was like the color, and I just went the middle. The burgundy seems to be slightly bigger than the lavender, and the pink is slightly bigger than lavender, so it was going to be one of these two, and I chose for it to be the darker color. It can be anything you want. So I went ahead and made that halfway through this my starting point. So I just chain and chain and chain and chain, got to my 48 inches, went further than that, and then I found my halfway point through that color, and then I turned it and came back and did it all the way back until we got to the halfway point on that color again, and it's at about 48 inches. So this one is right around there. It's hard to tell when they're that long and when they're stretchy, and this is pretty stretchy. So the other thing too is I chose not to do the larger hook on this one like I did the other one, because it's, as you can see, it's pretty stretchy without it, and maybe that'll close up that gap a little bit in the middle. So we'll see. So I just did the same size hook on this one all the way through, which was the size J. And so now what we're going to do is a little bit different than what we did on the other one. It's still kind of the same. Actually, this part of it is going to be exactly the same as the other one. You're going to take it and you're going to make sure that it's all straight, right? All the way across. And then bring the end to this end. Pretend like this is not there, because we're going to get rid of that. And then, so pretend like this right here, or you don't have to pretend because it's true, but this right here is the end, right? And I just did halfway through that color. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to attach it to here. Normally you would attach it at the top of the stitch, and you can tell where the top of the stitch is because that's where the braid is, and that's the chain. The one that just has the singles on the bottom, that's the chain, doubles on top. So that's how you would normally go. If you were going to just go in a continuous circle, you would just attach it right there, but we're not. We're going to twist it, and we're going to go into the bottom of this stitch, and you're going to go into the gap. Now if you want it to be a little bit more solid and not have it be off center, you could go into that the bottom of that first stitch, just to make it so that this and this are the same spacing. And when we take this back, we'll attach this to here, so it'll be a nice solid piece instead of it being slightly off kilter. We can do that like so. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and chain up one, and we're just going to go ahead and continue going around the circle. You probably don't need to, just like we did before, you probably don't need to stitch mark that yet, because it's obviously you know, the end. So it's pretty easy to see, but you are going to want to get a stitch marker for that when we get to the end of it, because we're not going to turn around on this one. So usually when we get to the stitch marker, we turn and go the other direction, but since we're doing stripes on this one, or zigzags, whichever you prefer, we're just going to keep going around and around and around. So no more turning on this one, we're just going to be adjusting our tension to make the zigzags if you want, or we're just going to do kind of a candy cane stripe. Both of them are done sort of the same way. Okay, I'll meet you back here, and I'm going to go find my own stitch marker. Okay, so when you connect these two sides together, once you've gone back and gone all the way around, I'm all tangled, sorry. You're going to pool it differently than you did on the other one. So the other one, we wanted the color change to happen sooner. So you wanted that purple to be right there. And that's because we were making the Argyle, but we're going to do it a little differently now. And you can decide how you want things to pool. As long as they're lined up, they will continue to pool how you want them to. So we're going to connect these together right here. Now that we have gone all the way around it twice, So you see two full rows here on that side and on this side. Now we're just going to continue to go in that figure 8. Once we get further along, I'll show you how to move it so that it can zigzag if you want it to. But see, once you have it set up, it just kind of keeps doing its thing. And you can adjust your tension a little bit to if it gets off. The big adjustments will happen when you're trying to do the zigzag, because you're going to go, you know, make it tighter to make it go for, bring it back this way and so forth. But for right now, we're just going to do this little stripe. Okay, so now all you have to do is just continue going around and around. Just keep those colors stacked up on top of each other and go around and around your figure 8 and go as far as you want. I will stop and show you how to make the zigzag probably halfway through so that you can see how to do it. Okay, so here's how this looks so far, and I've gone 10 rows. So, and you can tell by counting from the middle. Let's see, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it should be 10 down here too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now I'm gonna try and switch it. So I'm doing the zigzag thing. Now, what I found is that if you want it to just be a straight up and down stripe, you have to do the back and forth like we did before, but do it just like this so that you're putting the color change in the row before the one directly below it, not directly below it, but the row, how do I say that? So this row right here is actually 2 rows down, and that's the row directly below it, but the actual row that was right before it is right here off to the side. So you always want to make your color change right here when you're doing stripes and when you're stacking it. You could stack it this way too, it just looks kind of funky. So when you're going the other direction, you just, how do I say this? So you load it this way. So you would be putting these 2 right here, but if you turn and go the other way, then you'll put the matching ones up here. So it will match the one directly below it, like that, and you're also going to just to the left of that. And then it just goes back and forth, and that creates a straight up and down stripe. But since we're just going in the round, we're not going back and forth like we did with the last one, then it's making this sort of diagonal, which I really like. It's gonna give us kind of a herringbone look. So what we're gonna do to make it go back now is when I knew I was getting close, the great thing about this in the round is that you can just go. You don't have to you know, even think about what row you're on or when the row ends or anything. But when I knew I was getting close to 10 stitches or 10 rows, which is where I wanted to change it, then I just put my little marker there so that I didn't go any further than that. But it also gave me the opportunity to start making the change. So I started tightening up a little bit over here so that by the time I got over here, that color change would go just a little bit further than it did here. So that burgundy color is going to cover 3 stitches instead of 2, just barely. And now that we've made that change, it should continue on all the way. So you're gonna now, instead of making your color change the stitch before the one below it, not the one directly below it, but the row right before it, then now when we go around, you're gonna do it the stitch after. So, and that will start them going the other direction. We'll do that for 10 rows, and then we'll loosen up the stitch so that it moves it back. Hopefully that makes sense. So let me show you how it's gonna go. So now that we've gotten here, I knew that the change was happening, so I just kind of started doing it ahead of time. So now we should be able to, so that white stitch, usually we would do the purple stitch right here, but since I've made that change, that white stitch is gonna go the stitch after instead of the stitch before. You have all kinds of freedom when it comes to changing your tension. See, the purple's the one after instead of the one before. So it's gonna make a little point right there, just like this little point down here. So it's like a long zigzag. So you have all the power. So this is the white, so we're gonna do the white after it. The great thing I love about this yarn is that it's super easy to pull. And when you're doing it this way, it's super easy to know how you can adjust it as you go pretty quickly. So you don't have to like go back and adjust all the stitches. You can actually, when you realize that you've come to the end of the stitch and it's already changing a little too soon or a little too late, then you can just adjust so that it's like full white. See how that purple's still there? You can leave it like that, or you can, you know, adjust it a little bit. Okay, see how that's gone this way now? You're going to continue to do that for another 10 rows, and then we're going to go back the other way. So it's just going to go zigzag, zigzag. And because you're doing the whole round, you'll see it do the same thing over here, and it'll just continue on. This is super easy. I love this style of pooling because there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. You don't have to do a lot of stressing about it. I mean, not that pooling is stressful, but you're not counting or whatever, you're just making the changes on the fly. So it's just as easier. So we're going to continue doing that, and then I'll show you the zigzag pattern when it gets higher. And then this one's getting huge, and I'm about ready to end it. I haven't decided yet if I think I want it to be just a little bit longer. We'll see, and then I'll show you what that looks like done. So keep going. I'll meet you at the next spot where we change the zigzag, just so you can see how I change it back the other direction, and then you can just go make it as wide as you want. Okay, look how far I've gotten. Isn't it so cute? I think I might actually like this pattern even better than the Argyle pattern, but we'll see. I like the colors in the Argyle pattern. I don't know. I love that I'll have them both to work with. So I am right up to where we're going to switch we're going to switch up the point and make it go back this way. This is what it looks like so far. I think it looks really cute. So what I wanted to do is just kind of show you how to switch it back, which is, you know, it's just about adjusting your tension. So I know what's coming. Technically, it probably should have happened like the first time. It probably should have happened if you're going straight up right here, but I followed the color because, you know, we want the colors to match. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do this purple one, but we're going to do it wider and use more yarn so that it sucks it up faster. So see how high that is, and then I'm going to do that again with the white one. We should be getting into the red. Do it again, and hopefully this next one, that's pretty far up there, but hopefully that next one will switch it to the cream. We're pretty close anyway, enough that we can, and if you feel like you want to go back and maybe do some adjusting, let's go back a little further so it's not quite so big. Let's go back here, and we'll adjust it upward a little bit. Just a little bit all the way across the thing so that it doesn't, it's not so big. We're still within the scope of the color, but it's just a tiny adjustment so that by the time, see how that white's starting to show through? That's good. So by the time we get to the end of that burgundy, we've fully made the change. Okay. So the next one should be, we were doing white on the other side, but now we're going to do it back on the before instead of after. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and do our white right here. So now we're doing the color change before the stitch below it, not directly below it, but the row just before it. And then we're going to do purple, and that will bring that point, see the point happening? So it's going to go back this way now. And then you just repeat that process until it's as long as you want it to be. Hey guys, I am back. So I finished the first one. This is the Argyle one. And I added edging to it. I've actually added the edging twice because the first time I did it with sort of a really cool white color, and it was just a little too bright, I thought. I took pictures and put it online for my Facebook group and asked what their opinion was, and I was of the opinion that it was too bright. A couple people were like, no, it's perfect just the way it is, including my husband. but most people were like, it needs to be toned down a little bit. So I took the white off and I put on, I was torn between gray and cream. I ended up going with just a cream that I had, and I think it's just Red Heart Super Saver. It's nothing particularly extra. It's not like anything special, but it works just great, and it's kind of a cream color, and I love it so much more now. I was kind of going, anytime you add like a white edge to anything, it immediately screams winter or Christmas to me. Looks like Mariah Carey's little outfit that she wore in her Christmas album, which is great if that's what you're going for, but that's not what I was going for. I was going for something a little more fall. And so this is what I came up with. So the edging on here, my first edging was actually a little bit lacier, but I ended up doing, you guys are gonna laugh. Anybody who watches my videos, I love this rolled edge. So this is called a crab stitch right here, and it's just basically a reverse single crochet, but it creates this really cool rolled edge. But what it does for this is that you can actually, so you can wear this like a shawl, like a, it almost looks like a kind of a capelet, which is my favorite way to wear it. But you can also just wear it like a scarf, like a twisted neck wrap, just a bigger one than what we did before. Or you can actually put it up as kind of a hood because it's big enough to do that. It's wide enough. And the great thing about doing it as a hood is that this is a little bit stiffer, so it creates a little more stability, so it kind of keeps it off your face. So it's nice. I like it. So, and I'll show you pictures or video at the end so you can see. But look at how this, you got to see how this Argyle turned out in the back. Look how pretty that is. I just love these colors. So, so that's this one, and I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm going to show you on the zigzag one. So this is where the zigzag one is at right now. And I stopped because I wanted to show you how to end it and how wide it was. So this is about the same width of the one I just did. Isn't that so cool? And then we're going to measure it real quick. Okay, so I just took the whitest part of it in the back and measured, and I just wanted it to kind of match the other one. It's about 2 feet wide on there. But really what determined it was not making it exactly 2 feet wide. That was not my goal. What I wanted it to do was to be symmetrical. So I wanted this to be 10 inches or 10 stitches out. I can't speak. I wanted this to be 10 rows out so that it matched this side and this side and this. So that's what determined how wide it got. You can make it wider if you want to. You can make it skinnier if you want to, but I think this is perfect if you want to like use it as with a hood or use it, you know, any of the ways that I just talked about. So, okay, so now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to finish it and then how to edge it. And then it's just show and tell time. Okay, so finishing it up is, it's silly to even show you because it's super easy, but you're just gonna do like a single crochet into this one instead of a half double. And then if you want, you can do a chain, and then you can do just a slip stitch into the next one, and it just kind of like brings it down gradually. And then you can knot it. And then you're just gonna weave your ends in. So you're gonna weave in all your ends, including this one, and then this center one right here. Oh, I told you I was going to show you how to take this apart. This is where I had to join more yarn because I had a knot, so I'm going to weave those ends in. And then here is the original starting chain on here. So you're going to undo this. It's very, very easy. It's a really long chain. But I wanted to make sure that I had enough. So that's why it's so long. So you just undo this just like that, and then take it all the way back. And then once you get to the base, then you can just pull it tight like it's the starting slip knot, and then just weave your ends in. So I'm gonna probably do, let me get this down, and then I'll show you on camera how to weave the ends in using the back and forth method, just in case you've never done that, especially with moss stitch, because you wanna make sure that it's not visible, and moss stitch is very, you can see the stitches, so we're gonna hide it. So I'm going to cut this so that it's not quite so long. I had someone comment on one of my videos, and it was one of my planned pooling videos, that starting chain, she was like, well, you can save so much time and so much yarn if you don't do such a long starting chain. And she's right. She's absolutely right. And the thing is with me is that I have a short attention span. So I get really frustrated when I'm trying to start a project and the number of chains is holding me up. So like if you've ever started a project where you're, it's like chain, this many, like it'll be like a multiple of 4 plus 3, and then you're off by like 1 chain. And then you have to go all the way back and redo the number of chains. To me, like, can we just be done with the first row already? Like I just need to get into the actual project. So for me, I'm all about stress-free crocheting. So if I can just chain however many I want and then have it be more than I need, and then I can just undo that, that is so much less stress for me than trying to make sure I have the right number of chains. And when you're doing planned pooling, for me anyway, I have a hard time visualizing exactly how many chains it's going to take. You have to do like you have to actually crochet it out so you know exactly how many stitches you get per color, and then you multiply that out by how many chains you're going to need in order to get those many stitches. I just don't do planned pooling that way. That is too stressful for me. I would rather just make a long chain and then, you know, crochet it out exactly the pattern that you want, and then when you turn around and you just undo that chain later. To me, that is more useful because it's less stress and less time consuming. But if you are a person who prefers precision, you can do it that way. This just takes me like 5 minutes to undo the chain at the end, or even less if I do a shorter chain, and it just takes away a lot of the stress. So anyway, that's just me. You can do it however you want to. That's the great thing about crochet, is you don't have to do it the way anybody else does it. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna find where the stitches are to weave it in, and we're going to go under this one, and then we're gonna jump down and go under this one, and then go up and go under this one, and then down and go under this one. That's because it's a moss stitch, and if you just go straight through all the stitches on your row, you're gonna be able to see that yarn go through there, which is a great thing if you ever wanna do like a cool plaid. Moss stitch is great for doing we can do that on a different video. If you guys are interested in that, we can do that. But like a buffalo check type plaid. But in this case, we don't want it to show. So you're gonna go through this one, you're gonna jump down. You can even go through that piece right there in the chain if you want to kind of cover it up even more. Go through this, sorry. Jump up, grab that stitch, jump down, go through the chain, and maybe grab this stitch down here. Like you can do anything you want to cover up that yarn, because it's going to be a different color, and it will stand out because it's right in the middle of your project. So cover it as best you can, pull through. Don't pull too tight because you don't want it to like cinch up right there. And then you're going to grab a piece of yarn that you weren't using in that chain and then go back through. Oh, I don't think that's worked. Let's go through this one. Because the whole point of grabbing that piece of yarn is to hold this yarn from going back out the way you came. You could just pull the yarn straight back out. You don't want to do that. You want to stop it and then go back the way you came. Try and follow the same path. And by doing that, creating that back and forth on that yarn keeps the extra pieces from coming out with wear. So it's not as invisible as I would like it to be honest, but I don't think you're going to notice it much. So we'll go ahead and trim that. And that's just because it's down there at the chain where you can, I mean, it's pretty open right there. Okay, so next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna change hooks. And the reason I changed hooks is because I did this a couple of times and I just found that I liked the smaller stitch on the edge. It just kind of kept everything more, I don't know, tighter, but it also makes it a little bit stiffer, which creates a nice sort of a framework for it so that it doesn't flop all over the place. If you want it softer, you can stay with the bigger hook. You can even go bigger if you want to, but I'm gonna go down to an H on this one. This is the yarn I chose only because it kind of goes with that color right there. It's also Lion Brand. It's called Basic Stitch. It's a little bit shinier than like regular yarn. Let's see if I can find the end here. Anyway, so this one is a little bit shinier than like Red Heart Super Saver, but it's still in acrylic. I think it's a little bit nicer acrylic. Okay, so grab anywhere. Doesn't have to be in any particular place. I kind of like to go someplace other than where you've already done your back and forth right here, because that makes it stiffer right there. So I like to choose a different spot so when you're when you are weaving in your ends, it's not piled up on top of each other. So you have two stiff spots right next to each other. So we're gonna go ahead and just pull in your yarn just by using a slip stitch. And then you're gonna go ahead and single crochet into that same piece or that same space right there. So each one of these spaces makes up 2 stitches. So we're gonna go ahead and just do 2 single crochets in every one of these spaces all the way around until you get to here. And remember, you're going in a figure 8, so it's going to seem like you're going a lot longer than you should, but it's going to go around one side, around the other side, and then it'll meet back over here. You don't have to cut it or do anything. It's going to do it just magically by itself. So go ahead and single crochet across, 2 stitches in every space. Just like that. So meet me back here and then we'll do the next row. Okay, wow, that went so much faster than I thought. I actually had to go back and check and make sure that it went all the way around. So, because that was a lot faster. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 1 more stitch here. So this is 1 chain and 1 stitch. You could probably get away with that. If you feel like this is adding stitches or making it too thick, you don't want it to be like ruffly, which is why I chose to go down in my size on my hook, is to keep it from, you know, doing this kind of thing on the edge. So you could just right now, you could just go ahead and, in fact, I think I'm gonna do that. Just go ahead and join it right here, because I think it tends to be more stitches than not. And then that way when you, oh yeah, that's perfect. So that way when you weave this in, it's gonna look like 2 stitches right there, right? So then, not that anyone's going to look that closely to your edging, but it's always nice to look at the details. So now if you want to, you can go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and do a half double crochet all the way around in every single stitch. So super easy. Just go, and you're not going to believe how easy this edging is. So just half double crochet all the way around. If you want it to be a little bit thicker, you can do a double crochet or even a triple, but I like the edging to be just a little bit smaller on mine. Okay, just do that all the way around. I'll meet you here. Okay, here we are. We've come to the end, last row. So we're just going to do our, this is up to you. If you want to count that chain, you can. I'm going to go ahead and, it just looked like there was a little bit of a gap there when I did this. So you can combine them like that if you want to, or I think I'm just going to put a stitch right there. So it looks a little fuller right there. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, and what we're going to do is a reverse single crochet. So I'm just going to show it to you. If you haven't seen me do this before, I do this in so many videos. All of my basket videos, I use this edging. I've used it in multiple things. I think it's just a great simple edge. So what you're going to do is it's a single crochet, but you're going to do it backwards. So you're going to skip this one that you just created, and you're going to go into the next one. And you're doing this twisting motion here. So like you're going to do a single crochet, but you're going to go backwards, and you're going to pull up a loop. It creates this crisscross, leave the crisscross there, and then yarn over and go through both those loops. And it makes this little kind of nub. So then you're gonna do the same thing, just go back, pull up a loop, just like a regular single crochet, but backwards. It feels weird at first because you're like, I don't know, it's kind of like rubbing your stomach, and it's that thing they always used to do, pat your head and rub your stomach. But it makes this really cool sort of rolled edge that's nice and structured. It's really great for the edge of baskets because it has just a nice structured top to it, so it's not floppy. This is, you know, we're not using multiple pieces of yarn, so it's not going to be as stiff as a basket, but it's still going to be a little bit stiffer than the rest. Just like that. And it makes that cool little rolled edge. So go ahead and do that all the way around, and then I'll meet you here, and I'll show you how to put your ends in so that it matches up, like almost like you won't even know where the beginning and the end is on that. And then we'll be done, and I'll show you what they look like on. Okay, so I went all the way around, and we're back at the beginning. So normally I would not do one here because we already did one here, but that's kind of a weak roll. So I think I'm gonna see what it looks like if I do one there. and then just kind of lay it across. I think that'll look good, because I think otherwise it'll have a little bit of an indentation there. You can kind of see how your first roll was. If it was bigger, then you probably don't need to do another one there. But so then what we're going to do is we're not going to knot it like we normally would. You know how we normally do a slip stitch to end it? We're just going to pull it through so that it doesn't have any funkiness there. Okay, and then when we weave it in, we're going to go straight through this, and that's going to make this part just be a continuation across there, so you won't even know where the beginning and the end are. You could go through that one if you want to, or you can just kind of skip over the top so that it kind of more adds to that lump there, and go through the next one. And just pull through a few of them. There you go. So there should be just a continuous line, so you can't really tell. And then you're going to do the same thing, just pick up a piece of yarn so it keeps it from undoing itself when you go back, and then go back the way you came. Make sure you pull it back out so you didn't cinch it accidentally. There you go. Okay, so then you just have to weave in your other end, which was the beginning part, and then you'll be all done. And I'll show you exactly what it looks like on, and a couple different ways to wear it too. Here it is, guys. This is the striped one, obviously. Look at the back. Isn't that so fun? And then it's got like this cool little twist in the front, and it's just, I don't know, I just love it. You can wear it like this, or you can wear it up above your shoulders and just have it be a big twisted scarf, just to like kind of like a blanket scarf, but in the round. This one kind of reminds me of butterscotch a little bit, just the colors, and it's so like fall. It screams fall. That one I'll probably wear the striped one more for winter, and this one will be more my fall colors. But look at the back of this one. Isn't that so pretty? I just love the Argyle in the back of it. It's just, it's more subtle than some of the other plan pooling projects I've done, so I love that. There you go. So that's the hood up look, what it looks like in the back too. So a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope it inspired you for other projects to come. If you need help at all, be sure to join us on my Facebook group, which is called Ginell's Quarantine Crochet. And you can also get more plan pooling help on my website at ginellscrochetTherapy.com. There's actually a list on there of plan pooling yarns that I know work, and pictures of them, what they look like when they're pooled. So maybe that'll give you a better idea of what you want to use for this project if you decide to do it. So, and I'd love to hear comments for upcoming projects you'd like to see. I have a few in mind, but we're in the process of moving right now, so we'll see when I get to do it. But I'm glad I got to spend this time with you before I move my family across the country. So I will see you again soon, hopefully. Thanks for watching. Bye.